Hello, so I just upgraded the Blackbox to version 1.6.5, and one of the new features in that version is multi-sampling, but it can also record multi-samples, and that's the feature I really wanted to play with today. So let me just plug it in and set everything up, and then we'll get started. All right, so I have the, what do I have plugged in? So the output of the Yamaha MU80, which is a Rompler, plugged into the input of the Blackbox. So let's go here on the first pad. If you tap the info button, you get the record page. And if I switch into multi-sampling, the top encoder, we can scroll to the menu, and the bottom encoder will change the values. Because the Yamaha is not a stereo Rompler, I'm actually going to switch the input to left only. We probably need to increase the gain quite a bit. Change the file name, info. Let's call this piano. All right, so the multi-sampling interface lets you pick the start note, the end note, how many samples, how many velocity layers to use. We're gonna start with one for now. What MIDI channel to send the information on. This is responding to MIDI channel 1. The note length and the release length, those are in seconds. So because it's a piano sample, I'll want to have a pretty long note length. Let's say 4 seconds. One release is fine. Record monitor is going to be on. And that's it. All right, so we're going to try sampling this particular sound. So to record, we press record and play. Once you activate the multi-sample record, the device does everything. So it sends the MIDI notes to the device, and at the same time, it times its recording to capture each of the notes. And then it automatically loads these samples into that particular pad. So if we go back to the pad here, we have piano 1 that's here, and then I can use it. There we go. So that's for a simple thing. We'll look at the files in a second. So let's record something else. So in the velocity layers, we can capture between 1 and 16 velocity layers per note. So let's actually go all the way and record all 16. Everything else should still be good. Because we don't care about let's make it quick. We'll make the note length 1 second and then record again. And the way it records from the lowest velocity to the highest. So let's go over here and we'll do the same thing, multi-sample. All right, so we have all of our samples here. So now let's really take the SD card out of the Blackbox and go to the computer, and let's see how the Blackbox records those multi-sample files. I really like the format. Each of the recording sessions gets put into its own folder named after the preset you're recording, and then inside of the folder you have the name of the preset again, and then the MIDI note number and the velocity number. I'm actually very interested in knowing how does the Blackbox deal with the transition between a low velocity and a higher velocity. All right, so we have 4 files in our multi-sample. 2 of them are coming from the nylon guitar and 2 of them are coming from the pizzicato, and we're just going to load those back into the Blackbox and figure out what happens when those get spread across the keyboard. So I plugged in the MIDI keyboard directly into the Blackbox, and now it's actually working. So low velocities and then high velocities. So it is actually working, and it also shows that it's not actually doing any kind of fading between samples at different velocity. It just sort of literally switch from one sample to the other, which is the same thing that it does across the keyboard as well. You just sort of switch from basically one range to another. There's no blending of any kind, which is to be expected. The Blackbox is a fairly sort of simple device from a sort of processing point of view, so I'm not expecting it to work like a laptop. But now I know how it's working. So anyway, that's the only thing I wanted to add to that. And that concludes our little video about the Blackbox multi-sampling. Merci, à plus tard. And stop.